Welcome to the Hot Slice, your weekly dose of all things pizza from Pizza Today magazine. I'm creative director Josh Cowan. Along with me today, the executive editor of Pizza Today, Ms. Denise Greer.
Why, hello, Josh. How are you doing this wonderful fall afternoon? Let's just say fall afternoon. Finally,
it's a perfect
fall.
day. It's a perfect day. Yeah, we get 2 good weeks of weather here in Kentucky, and we're in the middle of like week 2, so it'll all go to hell next week, I'm sure. But anyway.
You know, October is my favorite month. Yes, it's National Pizza Month, but it's also fall, and I just love fall.
Yeah. So, and like as of October 15th, I'm not sure when you're watching this, but as of October 15th, we have a new slate of Pizza Expo 365 content over there. So
some good stuff too.
We got 5 new hours plus, I think, of new demos. We got Mike Bausch's keynote, and I tell you what, you don't want to miss that. That is one of the best keynotes that I have watched in my 14 years here. So
yeah, I've been with Pizza Today for 10, and that was probably my favorite keynote that I've watched.
It's a must watch for sure. You'll be ready to run through a wall afterwards. I mean, you'll be really totally pumped. And we got we got a great demo from Laura Meyer, Dough Essentials.
Yeah.
So you can't miss that one as well. So yeah, and we got some restaurant math. We got Scott Wiener. It's a loaded lineup this week on Pizza Expo 365. So go to Pizza Expo 365, subscribe. All that content is free.
Yep, 365. PizzaExpo365.com. Easy breezy. You'll be able to get all the content. It's a great resource. Another great resource, pizzatoday.com. I'm sorry, we're going to do some just shameless plugs right now because it's also holiday. You know, right now you should be in deep trenches of planning your holiday season, because the holiday season, you can capitalize on so much extra sales when it comes to gift cards, holiday parties, and catering. If you don't have those 3 nailed down, it's time to get in there and get it done. In the news section on pizzatoday.com, I put in a little article with some resources on how to do it better and tips on how to get it done as far as leading up to the holidays, because you're gonna want to capitalize on those holiday sales.
Well, I mean, I guess we can stop shilling our stuff now.
Okay, I'm done.
And we'll get on to the main event, which is Rachel Cope of Empire Slice House in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and she was our 2018. Was it 18? Yeah, 2018 Independent of the Year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, after I hear the volume that was coming out of that small little spot that they had originally, I'm even more impressed. I mean, Rachel is so impressive. I admire her and everything she's doing in the restaurant industry.
And you know, the funny thing is, it's called Empire Slice House, and honestly, that is what she's built in Oklahoma City, is an empire, a restaurant empire. She's got 84 hospitality. She's expanded beyond pizza and is doing just a lot of different things, and she's growing beyond Oklahoma City, which is very impressive. And I think we should just jump right in, because it's a great conversation, and you're definitely going to learn a lot from her.
Absolutely. All right, here's Rachel Cope.
Your pizza is more than a craft, it's your legacy. Make it extraordinary with Bacio Exceptional Italian Pizza Cheese. Created by expert cheesemakers for a superior melt, endless stretch, and its signature kiss of buffalo milk, a taste that is rich and creamy beyond compare. Build your legacy with monthly cash rewards and marketing support through the Bacio Gold Club. Schedule a demonstration at baciocheese.com/hotslice. Pizza is your legacy. Build it with Bacio.
Performance Food Service is proud to deliver high-quality products, innovative technology, and custom operational solutions to restaurants of all sizes across the country. The flagship division of Performance Food Group, with deep roots in the restaurant industry, Performance Food Service has been the exclusive distributor of the Roma family of brands for more than 65 years. This signature relationship has allowed Performance Food Service to become a leader in the pizza and Italian segment of food service nationwide.
Well, hey, Rachel, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Hey, guys, I'm doing awesome. Happy to be here.
Awesome. And we just saw you at a Pizza Expo with the Women in Pizza panel, which if you guys didn't see it, you're going to have to go to Pizza Expo 365 when that goes live, because it's going to be a really neat discussion with the women of pizza.
Yeah, I think next month, actually, November 15th. So that will be up on 365. So you can be able to hear it as well. So
yeah.
Areas through the winter, information through the winter until
absolutely. So what do you think of that panel? What do you think of your other panelists and the questions that a lot of folks were asking?
Yeah, so that one is, I've been on a couple of the panels with you over the past few years, and that one's one of my favorites, but this year in particular was really awesome. I didn't know either Nicole. Is Nicole Bean and is it Russell? Nicole
Russell, yes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Last Dragon, Bruce Lee.
Yes.
So that was such a blast, and they had so much energy and information, and are just kind of masters of their craft and their own respects and areas in what they do. And the crowd was great. I was kind of surprised by the turnout because, for the expo in general, obviously with the pandemic, it was a little bit less than what we're used to seeing, even with the exhibitors. But that room was packed, I felt like, and there were a lot of great questions and a lot of good interaction from the crowd. So I had a lot of fun with that.
I think everybody there, like I said, it was a little less than normal, but everybody there was so happy to be there. And it just, the vibe there was just different there this year. And I really enjoyed it. So,
yeah,
definitely.
And I also feel like, man, everybody that was there was ready to make moves and get things done. It seems like everybody was ready to, make decisions and get their shops going forward. And in that respect, let's talk about what's happening with you, what's happening with Empire and with 84 Hospitality.
Where to begin? One of the big things for us last year as a hospitality group was we really slimmed down our executive team, and really all of our teams, as a lot of people had to do just to get thin to survive. So we spent quite a bit of time in the past year and a half just not only navigating each individual store, but our team, rebuilding our team, our infrastructure, and moving people around and hiring people. And so we're in a really good place right now. We've got some new team members who are great, who help us feel like we can grow again. Because for a while there, we kind of had to stop and just go, okay, who are we? What are we doing? Who's doing what? Because we were all wearing so many hats, including myself, that I wasn't even performing my former role anymore. It was sort of like, if we're short a manager, I'm managing today. And that hasn't happened in a while. But I held my own. I did all right. So the hospitality group's doing well. We lost a couple concepts along the way, but we opened some concepts along the way too. There's too much to tell about the how and why for all of those. But we have an Empire in Tulsa. It was closed for 7 months during COVID. It was only open for 5 days.
Right. I wanted to ask you about that. 5 days it was open, and then I hate to take you back to that terrible time.
That dark time.
But how did that go down in the decision process?
Yeah, so I was actually living in Tulsa part-time because it was my first expansion of Empire outside of Oklahoma City, and I wanted to make sure that we made it work and that anything that went wrong was my fault and I was there to fix it. So we were super excited. The turnout the first 5 days was amazing. Everybody was just super pleased with what that looked like. We had no issue finding staff. Everything was kind of humming. And then I remember looking up at the TV on a Saturday night there and being like, wait a second, what is happening? And starting to see some of the information on the news about how serious that this virus was getting. And man, I did not think it would come to what it came to within a matter of 48 hours. I came back to Oklahoma City I saw that Saturday. I came back to Oklahoma City on Sunday, called an all manager meeting with our executive team at 9 o'clock on Sunday night. And we decided to shut down all the stores and take that Monday to shift to go only. And some of our stores didn't even do to go. We have a ramen shop. It had never done to go. And that was sort of our thing, was no to go. You got to get it in here. Except for quality purposes. And we were so tiny, we couldn't really handle the volume of to go anyway. But so in a 24-hour period, we started curbside. We added some online ordering to stores that didn't have it. It was a major shift. We even combined the operations of a couple stores into one store so we could move all their staff, into one place. And then a lot of our team members took voluntary pay cuts to help. I mean, we're talking store level managers, you name it, kitchen staff, wait staff, everybody, to try to support the team as a whole. I thought that was so admirable. I mean,
yeah,
especially for when you talk about the restaurant industry, these are young people, you know, they really need that money to survive, and they were willing to still try to figure it out. So we all really worked together on that. And as the pandemic continued, all of our stores were closed for dine-in service from March 17th. And then our first store reopened for dine-in, limited dine-in, on like September 30th. So a long span. And so we started with the ramen shop reopening after we had moved it to a completely new location. And then we started kind of opening one store at a time once we figured out, you know, what that looked like at one place. So I think Empire was next, and some other stores, but we didn't reopen Empire Tulsa until November. And even then it was limited hours, and we had a staff of about 55 people. We lost almost everyone and had to rehire.
Oh my goodness.
Everybody. And so it was, you know, it was a challenge, but it's staffed, and I'm happy with our team there right now. And now we're just kind of facing some issues with construction in downtown Tulsa, of course. And a looming winter where nobody really that far to get to us. So we're going to have to get creative this winter to keep the revenue flowing. But I'm really good in the spring when some things do open around us, and new attractions that are down there, that will be just fine.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your restaurant company as a whole. You know, where are you at right now? Like what's in your inventory right now? And, you know, cause I know we had a couple conversations at Expo about, you know, hiring and things right now. You know, where are you kind of sitting with the hospitality group?
So, the group as a whole, I think we have 7 units right now. We did just announce that we're opening an Empire in Edmond, Oklahoma, which is basically North Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. It's the next suburb north of us. There's a lot of, the population there keeps expanding. The school district's great. We just never could find an area that we really thought was cool. But there is one area over the past 5 years that's really been kind of developing in an older part of Edmond. And we snagged a building over there that really fits kind of that character part that I always look for, but also checks those boxes for location and parking and all that other stuff that we have to have. So it'll be our largest iteration of this full service version of Empire yet. It's about 4,700 square feet. Previous to that, 3,700 square feet was the biggest size that we had. But when you take into consideration, we have no outdoor space at the Edmond location. All the walk-ins have to be inside. There's no patio. So seating wise and with equipment and stuff, it still makes sense. So we have that. We opened, Josh and I were talking about this earlier. We had opened a funky, fun little coffee shop during COVID called Neon Coffee Bar.
That's awesome.
And that's just been kind of a passion project. Yeah, during COVID, I mean, I'm a creator. I love to create. I thrive on going places and getting inspired, and then coming back here and going, does this fit our market and our clientele, and does it benefit the community, and all those boxes I try to check. But yeah, we created this, we moved our to-go shop. We had a to-go shop for Empire called Easy E Slice Shop. Yeah. And it was right next door to Empire. And whenever we were at a smaller location, we couldn't handle the volume of to-go that we had created over like a 5-year period. So we rented a space 2 doors down and did a lot like what Home Slice in Austin did. And I always give them props for kind of that idea, because it was so smart. We had the exact same problem, and kind of modeling after what I saw them do. We did the same thing. It was slices and it was to-go only. But before the pandemic, we were negotiating a second location for that, and we were going to leave it there. But when the pandemic hit, we realized we were cannibalizing to-go sales that we could actually handle in our new location in the plaza, since we had more ovens and more space and all of that. So we decided to pick the slice shop up and move it to Nichols Hills, which is in the middle of Oklahoma City. So it's kind of like Plaza District, Nichols Hills, Edmond, like that sort of. So they're all pretty evenly spaced here around the Oklahoma City area. But anyway, we ended up putting the coffee shop in that building because we still had a lease, and we actually make all of our dough for Empire there. So it's kind of a commissary for us as well. We opened that during COVID. And so
I was low key trying to get Rachel to bring one of those neon coffee shops to Louisville. So that's, that was the that was my pitch, but whatever.
I'm always looking for good coffee. And you know what? We actually don't have like a lot of slice shops here. We don't.
Slice shops. Yeah. That's what I was saying. Yeah. Nothing.
There's nothing here.
We're really working on our strategic growth plan right now that we feel like we're getting a better handle on what the world looks like and learning a lot about Oregon and who we're going to be.
I gotcha. And I know, because maybe people don't know this, but you are our Independent Pizzeria of the Year previously. So I've been there and you've got a great vibe. And I actually was in the original location and got to see the newer location under construction. So I haven't seen the spot you have in the plaza, like the new spot, except for on like Instagram and social. But I'm curious because I know that when we had talked about, taking the cool old vibe that you had at the original Empire and bringing it to your new location in Plaza, is that going to be even more challenging when you go to Edmonton?
So when we go to Edmond, we're actually, it's an older building, so it fits that.
There you go. Yeah.
That helps.
New construction building was actually the hardest to feel like that. But we carried over a lot of things that were similar. The mistake I made at the Plaza new construction building was we really had full reign over, because it was just an empty lot. I built the ceilings too high. And the old one maybe had like 12-foot ceilings.
Yeah.
And then, there were some drop ceilings in certain areas there.
Yeah.
And then the new ones I think are 16 feet. And so it lost a little bit of that coziness that we had in the old spot. And that's what I've heard from people, but they're also so thankful to not have to wait 2 hours to get in because we have more seats and the speed in which we're able to do things because we have 4 ovens. And so they've forgiven us a little bit for the height situation. But our staff, if you saw the space they used to work in, we're talking about a 1,900 square foot old laundromat with 1 double stacked Baker's Pride oven. We were making dough in like a 3-foot wide by 6-foot long closet every morning at 3 a.m. for 5 years.
That kind of volume you guys had with that little space, that's insane. That's absolutely insane.
It truly was. And we were able to, build on a side patio at one point there. And so that was helpful. But man, I also remind myself that, when that Empire opened, it wasn't gangbusters, it was hard in the beginning. And so I remind myself and our team of that when we talk about Tulsa, because we're going to have to do some real grassroots marketing. And I was actually there last weekend and went to a little music festival that a friend was playing in on Sunday. And it's a bar that I love. And we have to share a lot of the same ideals. And it's been there for a long time. And it's so cool. They're very community oriented. And I noticed they don't have any food and everybody had been drinking like all day. So I called our restaurant and I ordered like 20 pizzas and they just put a cover on the pool table there. And it was pretty cool to see almost everyone in the bar with pizza in their hand.
Yeah.
Our pizza and people who had never heard of it. So that's the kind of stuff that I need to go do. And now that I'm getting our team situated here, and Edmond really probably won't open until spring, just everything's taking so long. Like even getting our utilities started there has been such a challenge. So I got about 5 months to go really hit it hard in Tulsa. And I just joined their Tulsa Regional Chamber. And so if you want to make it work, you can. I'm convinced I can. I just have to really go push it. So that's that figure it out,
Yeah. Why don't you tell us about that figure it out?
I know. Okay. So hang on. I tried this earlier. So this is the figure it out little tattoo here.
Yeah.
And like we told this story at the expo a little bit because it seemed like everybody on the panel was saying that, figure it out. And my sister and I went to Denver on like a sister trip, and our mom had always specifically told us to please not ever get any tattoos, which Chelsea had already kind of messed that up for my mom a while back. But yeah, we just grabbed a beer and decided we were going to go get a tattoo. And that's the only thing that came to my mind that I knew that I would always love. that saying forever, and is really a life mantra, not only for me, but for our hospitality group as well. It's no one's going to do it for us, and there's a solution. We just have to keep pushing to find it.
You know, speaking of tattoos, you guys had some of the coolest things where you had that partnership with the tattoo. Do you still have a partnership where people are still getting tattoos of your pizzeria?
We need to market this better, but this is talking about that community building part. There is a tattoo shop in the Plaza District that we loved and we wanted to support. And so we asked them probably, like in year 2 or 3, so like 2014-15 of Empire's existence, that if they would create some tattoos for us, because we decided that if people got one of these tattoos, they could have free pizza for a year. Half off pizza for life. We're doing another thing soon. Wow. Free pizza for a year. Got confused on my marketing stuff. But so I didn't really think anyone would get one. I was wrong. I think there's about 125 tattoos floating around out there.
Loyalty right there. Loyalty.
Yeah, and that's what got us really
with your pizzeria.
Yeah, we need to push it more. And so when we went to Tulsa, we tried to find a place to partner with there. But I think our new goal is to have a friend design the tattoos where they can actually download them from our website and take it to their tattoo parlor, wherever that may be. Because, or it sounds like people are very specific about who they like or let tattoo them.
Right.
I only have the one, so I don't really know how that goes. But yeah, so we're going to push that more soon, because it truly is wild that so many people got it. And, the pink elephant became such an icon for us along the way, accidentally, like a lot of things in our
And is the pink elephant's at the newer location in the Plaza, right? Or is it gone?
We had it since the beginning, and I bought it in New York actually when I was there on a pizza trip. When we were building the original Empire, I saw it in a shop, and there's a crazy long story about pink elephants and some science stuff that was done at the University of Oklahoma like in the 70s, and I had just read that before I went to New York, and so I was like, oh my God, this is meant to be. So I brought her back here, and I did not realize what an
Ella,
icon.
right? Ellie or Ella?
Yeah, I actually have one of the original ones actually here at my house in the backyard.
Oh, wow.
Because we've had several of them. They're made of plaster, like they break really easily, or fiberglass. They break really easily if they're pretty light. We've had 2 get stolen, so that's been a news.
I was gonna say, what didn't that go gangbusters all over the news that somebody stole that?
Yes, it became like a really huge thing, and you will not believe this, but sometimes people will send me pictures. They don't realize this is my house, and they'll be like touring a house somewhere down the street, or maybe walking by, and they can see into the backyard, and they just
dude, I saw it
at the house, like taking pictures. A guy, I'm not kidding you, was fixing my neighbor's telephone pole or something, and I'm standing outside. He's taking a picture of the elephant when I'm in the backyard.
You got a bunch of private detectives in your neighborhood.
And they're thinking they're going to get some reward, right? And you're like, no, that's mine.
Half off pizza for life.
It sounds like I solved the mystery that never solved. But
so just real quick, were they ever recovered, the 2 that were stolen?
So we got one back. And then the one we never got back. And so it was frustrating. And they're not cheap. They're like $1,500 an elephant. So
I want to do a 6-part Netflix documentary on finding that other pink elephant that's missing. So
the missing pink elephant.
We can go back and do all the interviews and show footage. They stole it in like a 4-door sedan, and this thing is not small. They put it on top of the car, and you can see 2 people holding it out the window.
They kind of earned that. Then they earned that one.
I get, but I have a feeling she fell off somewhere along the way.
Right.
So, anyway.
That's hilarious. I love it.
Oh, I'd like to talk about, actually, sorry, Denise, but I'd like to talk about your growth and like what do you guys, now that we're a little past COVID, somewhat, looking to the future, where are you guys, how is your team coming together to look at growth like outside Oklahoma City and whatnot?
I recently just started exploring other markets again. We had some kind of on our list before, but we were still not quite ready for that. And then the pandemic hit, and because we thought Tulsa was going to be our first try at it, and that was going to go great. And then we were going to go somewhere else. I didn't even know where yet. But last Monday, I flew to Phoenix and saw a good friend of mine who has a restaurant group there. Her name's Lauren Bailey. She's an amazing restaurateur and one of the only other females I know that does what I do, you know, as far as like founding a lot of the concepts. And she's still the CEO for their company, Upward Projects. And they're kind of in hyper growth mode. And so I went.
Wait, do they own Parlor? Do they own Parlor Pizza?
Which is a wine bar.
Okay.
They've got some locations that are in. They don't have anything here in Oklahoma, but they've got stuff in Phoenix, Denver, Texas, and they've got multiple different concepts. But they're really focused on duplicating their wine bar, which they have about 20 units of right now. And so I'm just kind of piggybacking off what she's learned in the past, 5 years when they got some funding from some equity groups and what that looked like for them. And I'm having to learn a lot because we don't have anyone in our group that has that experience yet. Of course, as we keep building our team, we'll need someone who knows how to do that. Yeah. So we're not just having to go learn, try to teach ourselves and mess it up. And then
Google it, so.
Forever, we'll never get it done. And probably waste a lot of money trying it ourselves. But yeah, so I just really started kind of looking at things again. And what's so interesting is the real estate market's changed so much that I'm having to relearn what even all the rents are. There's a lot of negotiating going on.
Construction cost. Oh my goodness.
Oh man, all of that. And I'm just now getting construction bids back for the Edmond project. And yeah, we're talking, take what you had before plus 20% plus
easily
3 months longer.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it hard because then you're like, well, I need to go get investors, but I can't do that without knowing how much this is going to cost exactly. So that's been a little bit tricky. Just some kind of insider info is what do we let people in at? Like what is the equity cost now versus what they be selling it for before?
True.
But there are a lot of second generation spaces out there. And that's really what we look at too. If I could have found a second generation space for the Empire in Edmond that fit where we wanted it to be, you bet I would do that. It costs half as much to do. It takes half as long to do it. But when you're looking for something very specific in a very specific area, you gotta do what you gotta do. But I would say that my business coach has been trying to get me to put this plan on paper for about 5 years. But I'm starting to highlight some cities that we're interested in. And as we continue to grow our team here, we've got some people that are interested in moving to those markets. And what's also cool about our group, I think, is that yes, we have Empire, and that's definitely the flagship restaurant that we have the most locations of, that we've streamlined the most. But the ramen shop is also fantastic and seen a lot of success here. We're kind of working on streamlining their operations right now. We have a burger concept called Burger Punk. That's a really fun little punk rock burger diner. That's been a pretty pleasant surprise as far as what they've been able to achieve in a small space and sort of the community's reaction to that place. You said Neon. I think we have a lot of projects where we go drop Empire in a city. And then you have like kind of the full service version as the mothership, as we call it. And then you've got these satellites that are the slice shops that can go, they don't have to be in as cool of a location. They just have to be strategic. And those are actually the kind of sleeper of the group because they generate a lot of revenue and they're small. I mean, they're 2,000 square feet. They only have 20 employees. The cost of building them is 1/3 or less as much as what we're spending on the full service version. And so those are awesome. And I'm focusing on sort of what that looks like as well. But I'd say you'll see some expansion from us as soon as I get that Tulsa store fixed.
Is Burrito Baby still around?
Burrito Baby's around, and that one is so delicious. But because we've probably all eaten Chipotle like once or twice, or maybe more if you're a burrito person. But one thing I do when I'm creating is you have to look at the market and go, is there a hole? And for us, that was something that we just didn't have. The only burrito shop really in Oklahoma City like that was Chipotle. And they were crushing it during COVID, I felt like. And I don't think it's that good. That's just my personal opinion. That I didn't feel like things were that fresh or that it was too expensive. So we actually created that ghost kitchen, Burrito Baby, out of our Mexican restaurant to help the sales there. And what was cool about that was we literally created, it was kind of like a two-headed monster. They had the same body though. They had Revolution was the body. And then there was like this face of the Revolution, the Mexican restaurant. And then there was Burrito Baby, but you didn't know that they were sharing a body, sort of.
That's the cool thing about ghost kitchens is you can run them out of anything, really.
Hey, I thought that ghost kitchens were going to be here to stay. I would have bet a lot of money on that. And what we're seeing right now is that's not necessarily the case. And I think a lot of people have been excited to go back out to eat. So we're seeing a lot less, third-party delivery orders anyway. And that's really where those ghost kitchens live, is online. It's not like you can walk and order it. But what some places have done, and we're doing this now as well, is start incorporating full to-go areas into our full-service space. And that's what we're doing in Edmond, is we actually, for the first time, are building a to-go area with its own entrance at that store, so that we can handle all those sales and really put them in one space. I mean, that makes pretty good sense to me, especially when we don't have a to-go unit up there yet. And so everything's going to come out of there. And especially in the beginning, when our people are still figuring out we're there and we're having to build sales, we'll take all the to-go we can get. Those outside are so key for all the stores. So.
Absolutely. That's awesome. You had talked about, as you grow, a lot of our readers and our listeners and things, they are, they're single unit, and maybe they would like to expand and grow. What does it take to get, you were talking about investment, how can you grow to something that you have, what's it take to, I know it takes a lot of work, but to be able to get the capital lined up to even do kind of what you're doing.
The original Empire was, I don't even know how we got it built. I mean, literally,
it's all blur.
It's all blur. Yeah.
Where we lucked out was, and I think I've told this story before, but we won a contest. And that contest was a citywide contest for someone to create a concept and pitch it to these landlords in this district, and whoever they liked the best won. Well, part of that deal was you got free rent for 6 months from a local automobile dealership that's very community oriented. It's called Fowler Auto, and they're great. And so they did free rent for 6 months. So that helped us get off the ground. And then we did get some investment from a couple just random friends of a friend who believed in one of us, and they were able to bring some cash to the table. I had $0. I try to remind people of that sometimes, and neither did my original operating partner. Both of us, $0. Our families had $0 to give us. This was not like my dad or mom gave me $250,000. They never even had, at that point, never even had seen that kind of money. That didn't exist like in my world growing up. So, but we had a couple people who did give us some money, but even that, we're talking like less than $150,000. But what was helpful for us in that original location was that the landlord did quite a bit of the build out, but in trade, and it was a risk on their part too. And I realized that there was percentage rent, and it was not capped. And when you set up those agreements in those leases in the beginning, sometimes just to get the deal done, you kind of sell your soul and you don't think about it in the moment. And for us, we were kind of naive because we were like, we never dreamed that we were going to do $70,000 a week. We thought we might do 30 if we were lucky. And as those sales kept climbing over the years, our base rent was about $3,000, which was about the right amount for that space at that time. But when you're doing, $70,000 a week and you're doing $3 million a year, all of a sudden your rent's more like $16,000 a month. And in that district, that was so unheard of. Yeah. And we went back to negotiate that about a year before our lease was up, and they weren't having it. So I just marched myself down the street and made a different deal, which luckily worked out, but everything for a reason. But as far as raising capital moving forward, I'll tell you straight up, like, I have almost different investors in almost all the different concepts, because we've never really worked with anybody who had just a ton of money and was like, I want to build all these concepts with you. And it's never been like that. I don't know if it was timing or just the type of how many different concepts we were building, or what that was. But for the most part, we've had to kind of go chase money every single time. The Empire stuff has gotten easier for sure. But we also started doing bank loans, which we'd never done before. We used to just go all cash. And I still like that best because I don't like having debt. Yeah. But when you're talking about trying to retain a certain amount of equity for yourself, that's where you take on that bank debt too. And that formula changes for everybody as far as like what they're comfortable with taking on. But for us, you know, what we're looking at now is we look at partial cash investment. We put in some cash as well. And then we bank loan part of the build out. So that's how we've structured it. But it's hard. It's hard when I probably couldn't have got a bank loan for the first Empire. I couldn't even get a credit card. So but things do change. And a lot of that is just based on your effort to make your store work. And when people start believing in you, whether that's a bank or an investor, or they see this kind of success, it definitely gets easier to make that happen. But you've probably heard crazy stories. People taking second mortgages on their house and all kinds of stuff. And
people putting the whole thing on credit cards. I've seen that.
And people have gotten that figured out. But I mean, my parents made me terrified of credit cards growing up.
I did too.
Yeah.
Never have one. And so I kind of still had that mentality throughout, even now. Like I said about having bank debt, I'm just like, oh, but I could see where that makes sense. It's collateralized with like equipment and things. So if something happened, it's not like, it's like, oh, now Rachel owes $250,000. So anyway, but a lot of ways to go about that as far as how to structure your investment for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and the right way, no wrong way. What works best for you? What do you want? What do you need? And then what are you willing to give up to get there? I think is truly the best advice I could give about that.
That's awesome.
Fantastic stuff.
That's good.
Thank you so much for being on our podcast today. This was one of my favorite ones. I know for sure.
Lots of good nuggets given us. It's awesome.
Love it.
Well, that's great.
Thanks so much. And will we see you in March? I
can't wait. I love Vegas, so I'll be back.
There you go.
Well, we'll see you in March,
guys. Yeah, see you soon.
See you. Thank you.
Thank you.